I'd like to try this discussion again in the future, if you're willing to be more cooperative.
Stalks out of the bedroom. At the same time, two white drones float in, hovering over Neferu. One lowers itself to the ground to begin cleaning up the mess, while the other one holds out what looks like a couple capsules on a plate, which it balances in a metal appendage.
Neferu, you seem to have vomited. You like anti-nausea medication?
I stumble over to the jackal to kneel at his side and try to help in any way I can. He simply causes his eyes. He simply keeps his eyes screwed shut, holding up a paw before returning it to a sore spot. Awkwardly, I rub at his shoulder, trying to ignore the smell as the drone does its work of cleaning up the puke. A few minutes later, I manage to help the jackal to the bed, his breath ragged the entire way. It's strange seeing him like this. Usually, he's so confident and in control. Never expected anyone to do anything like this to him. But I guess if someone was going to do it, it was Kato.
Are you sure you're okay?
As for what's probably the third time as I sit next to him and never manages to smile despite the clear pain he's in.
No. But I'll have to go to the physician to be sure. All the way to the city since Kato saw fit to imprison the palace doctor.
Do you need, like, ice or something? I don't know, he hit you so fucking hard.
I'll manage. I just miscalculated. I'll know how to handle him in the future.
I frown, not really feeling like that's the case. As I'm trying to help him, though, Khan's voice comes over the intercom again.
Virginia requests access to your room, Neferu.
Neferu suddenly straightens up, moving his paws from his crotch to his thighs.
Granted.
She nods at the two of us before wrinkling her nose.
Smells like rancid wine in here. Indeed. What do you need, Virginia?
To my surprise, Virginia turns to me. Instead of the hostile expression she'd been wearing the last time we'd encountered each other, it's much kinder, much to my relief. William, I had a stroke, apparently. I had a discussion with Cassius about seeing Amicus. He seems accepting of the idea under one condition. There's a pause. What? Well, he wishes to speak with you in private. Private? If Emily speaks up next to me.
That is not wise, William. We should negotiate with him to allow me to be there.
Virginia laughs. You really think Cassius would allow a Camion in on a private conversation? Virginia pauses, eyeing the jackal Neferu currently still hunched up, despite his attempts at looking straight.
What happened to you? Nothing of note.
I raise an eyebrow, which Virginia sees.
William, what happened?
Well, I pause, watching as Neferu raises his own eyebrow and makes no attempt to stop me. Well, Neferu pissed off Kato, and Kato hurt him.
What? I was attempting to pry information from the old man about the staged trial. I was unsuccessful. Why did you even think you could be successful? Kato knows exactly what we're up to, no doubt. This is someone like you. It jeopardizes everything, Neferu.
Virginia seems completely bewildered, and now that I think about it, I have to agree. What was Neferu thinking? But then Virginia narrows her eyes as she sees the jackal grinning, now openly covering his crotch.
What? Well, I may not have achieved exactly what I wanted, but I attained something just as valuable.
Footage of Kato trying to kill the the Pharaoh's son. Neferu glances at the corner of the room where the drone is.
You recorded it all. Yes, and an attack of the Pharaoh's son will not look very nice in the Camion news channels, will it? Neferu.
A dark tone enters a wolf's voice.
That risks war.
The jackal rolls his eyes, adjusting himself rather lewdly.
I would never actually send it, but Kato does not know that. It's simply convenient blackmail material if things don't go as planned.
Virginia squeezes the bridge of her snout, closing her eyes.
You don't know Kato very well, do you? And neither do I. Sometimes I believe he wants another war. Did he hit you?
Virginia's eyes drift lower.
Yes. Anyway, he's no longer the Emperor. It's Cassius I'd use it against. You know Kato's his advisor. But still not the Emperor. I would hope your brother has large enough stones,
Again, the jackal adjusts himself.
to do his job, and not listen to a warmongering advisor. One would hope.
Virginia continues to look unconvinced. I shift around impatiently next to Neferu. So did he want to see me now? Virginia turns to me again, looking as if she'd forgotten I was there.
That seemed to be the case.
Neferu sighs loudly.
At least try to convince him to allow you to be present, Virginia. I don't want William to be left alone with him. There's little to worry about. Cass is not Cato, but I can try.
Virginia looks to me.
Ready, William?
I quickly get up, following the wolf to the door. I look back at Neferu, the jackal looking uncharacteristically disheveled, as he's still hunched up around his junk. He gives me a meaningful look, probably meant to tell me to be careful, so I give him a quick nod before following the wolf out the door. We walk in silence, the only sound being the birds and the swishing of our robes as we make our way through the halls. I'm not sure exactly where we're going, but after a while I realize it must be the throne room. I stare at the back of the she-wolf's head, contemplating a few things. Virginia is the person I know the least about in the palace, which probably means she's doing the best job at playing this little game. I want to ask her a lot of things, but I'm worried about overstepping boundaries, something that seems rather easy to do with her. As we get closer to the door, I can't help myself from asking at least one question. So do you care that Amicus is in the dungeons? Like, you want him now, not just because you want to be a advisor, right? Immediately I see the wolf's ears flick back in hopefully mild annoyance and not extreme anger. Her voice is steady when she answers me, though.
First of all, it's not any of your business what my motivations are, William.
He doesn't follow that up immediately. So we're left in an awkward silence. So, as we walk the last 10 feet to the throne room door, she pauses there and finally looks at me, her eyes narrowed.
But Amicus is my brother, and for that alone I love him. And though he's a complete dullard, he's one of the few to be genuinely kind to me in the palace. He is a good wolf.
Virginia turns away, raising a paw to hover over the black panel.
But you would already know that.
With that, she presses the panel and the doors slide open. Oh boy. I immediately spot Cassius near the other end of the cavernous room, looking a bit small and insignificant on the extravagant throne. Probably not the best impression for the Emperor of Adastra to make. As I'm thinking this, we begin to make our way towards him. A drone hovers in front of the white wolf, holding up a screen under his face. He's not looking at it now, though, instead narrowing his eyes at the two of us as Virginia escorts me to the base of the steps.
Here he is, brother.
Cassius shifts around in his seat, and for a moment I think I catch a sight of some sort of booster seat under his rear.
Thank you, Virginia. You can leave us be now.
Virginia hesitates, clasping her paws together in front of herself.
Brother, I would feel more comfortable if I were allowed to stay. I'd rather not leave you alone with an unprofiled alien.
Cassius snorts, waving his paw dismissively.
I've interacted with it many times before. I will be fine. If not, then the drones will take care of him.
Cassius makes eye contact with me as he says the last part, clearly meaning for me to take it as a warning or a threat. Virginia hesitates again, and Cassius's eyes drift towards her in question. And that's when wolf bows deeply before turning away. As she passes me, she gives me her own look, not unlike Neferu's. Be careful. Oh, here we go. The false emperor. I continue to face Cassius as I listen to Virginia's soft footsteps recede behind me. Then I hear the door open and close. I keep my eyes low on Cassius's feet, though I can tell he's looking directly at me. The silence drags on. I wonder if the white wolf is using Cato's technique of using silence to intimidate. Finally, though, he clears his throat loudly, or his loat throudly, apparently, almost making me jump.
First, I want to say that you may speak freely here. I only want the truth.
I look up at him then, and see that he's not looking at me anymore. Instead, it's to the side, as if he's lost in thought.
I'm confused as to how all of this could have happened. So, know that if you speak the truth, you will be free from any consequences.
Consequences? Make that sound as if I committed some sort of crime or conspiracy. I mean, maybe. I've been a part of some, but it's definitely not my fault.
What do you want to know? Cassie's eyes flick to mine then, and I see mild surprise there. He's probably not used to an alien like me speaking directly to him in full sentences. He pauses again before resting his chin on a paw, clearly trying to look casual.
Who exactly are you?
Raise an eyebrow. William, you already know this.
I know your name, but I want to know more than that, more beyond that. What is it that you're doing here? How did my brother find you?
Immediately our conversation reaches a point where I find myself unsure of what to say. How much can I say to him? Obviously I can't trust him at all. I know that. But I also know that he's in complete control over what happens to Amicus, and there may be a few things I have to give up to keep my wolf safe. So I square my shoulders and look Cassius in the eye. I want to know that Amicus is okay first, and I want to see him. Immediately, Cassius' demeanor changes from sour suspicion to sour fury.
Excuse me, you aren't the one to make demands here. I am the Emperor, and you will answer my questions.
I get the vague sensation of my balls drawing up into my stomach as I realize how dangerous all of this is. My thoughts go to that physician, Felix, being sent to the dungeons without a second thought. But I know I have protections, and I have to trust them now if I am going to make any sort of deal with Cassius. Yeah, but you're not my Emperor, I answer to the Pharaoh. I'm spitballing, but it seems to be working as it gives Cassius pause. After a moment, it seems like he's able to collect himself.
So I've heard. But remind yourself that you are on Adastra. Therefore, you are to abide by our laws and customs, and lying to the Emperor is punishable by death.
And again, that feeling in my stomach. Stomach! But I have to remind myself, rules don't matter here. It's all about playing their game. Now that Cassius would never have me executed or imprisoned while Nefru is here. It would be far too risky for the Empire as a whole. I can't be intimidated by empty threats, even if they threaten my life. If I want to help Amicus, I have to push the limits. At least within reason. I also remind myself that I'm not completely untouchable, as Nefru's balls can attest to. I just want to see my former master. If you can guarantee me that, then I'll tell you what happened. Another long pause as Cassius just glares at me. Then he lets out a little huff. Fine. It's almost funny to see how he's still acting like a child despite now being the Emperor of Adastra. So I take a deep breath. I consider lying, of course, but what Amicus did was an honest mistake, at least in my opinion. Lying will probably only make things worse than the truth should be. What? Lying will only make things worse when the truth should be so understandable. So I started at the beginning. How Amicus came upon the records of my people in the archives, how he rushed to my planet to find a willing pet, how everything suddenly went south when he found out far too late that we were not part of the Casius, and finally, how we tried to keep it all a secret to keep the Empire safe. I emphasize the keeping the Empire safe part, even if it wasn't originally at the top of my priorities. I'm telling the truth, even if I'm stretching it a little bit. Cassius listens to all of this with various reactions: contempt, surprise, anger, then contemplation. I'm struck by the contrast between him and Cato. While Cato keeps his emotions in check, aside from the occasional explosions of rage, Cassius wears it all on his sleeve. Not that different from Amicus in that way, even if his personality is. And Cassius still doesn't say anything, I sigh. It was an honest mistake. You've got to understand that.
I already know that it was a mistake. Even Amicus would not make first contact on purpose. I just wondered what sort of stupidity caused it.
He had no reason to think that we were uncontacted. We were recorded in a library or whatever. Cassius suddenly shifts on his throne.
What are you? Species and planet name. His last sentence has the inflection of an expectant demand. Now I'm left to stand in silence. No fucking way why am I telling this wolf brat where I'm from? Cassius must see that on my face immediately, because his fur once again puffs out in anger. Do you want to see Amicus or not? I need to know this to verify that what you're saying is truthful. Is that really why? I know what you wolves do to other aliens. Why would I give my people away like that? Cassius puffs himself up even bigger, and I wonder if he's going to start screaming at me. Then he suddenly just deflates. The problem here is first contact, yes? So why would I go out to find and do whatever you think it is I do to your people? I have no interest in furthering the problem. I simply want to know.
But why do you care?
Cassius snaps his eyes back up to mine. Believe it or not, William, I'm trying to help Amicus. Do you not know the consequences of such a crime? He could be executed for this. Now my heart does a backflip.
What? Why?
Because it is a sacred rule created by the parents. Disobeying them risks our entire empire to abandonment.
But you're the Emperor. If you want him kept alive, can't you just do that? I feel myself starting to panic a little. I thought that maybe Amicus would be kept in the dungeon for a while, but never thought he was at risk of being executed.
If it were only I that knew of this, maybe. But there are others that know of his crime, and they expect me to terminate all evidence of the first contact.
Cassius stares at me, and I realize part of the evidence is, of course, me. You talking about Cato? He's just your advisor, right? You can ignore him. This time Cassius doesn't respond, looking away again.
If I can make the case that this was a truly honest mistake, then maybe I have a chance of convincing these others. But he had convinced them that this wasn't first contact at all. Are you even sure your people are completely unaware of the Galaxius?
I start to say that I'm pretty sure, but he's looking at me in a strange way. Our governments are pretty secretive. They might know something.
So it's possible that a crime wasn't committed at all, simply a misunderstanding. Knowing where you came from can help us determine that.
Is Area 51, they found wolves? I've been caught off guard by all of this. I guess I just expected Cassius to let Amicus rot in the dungeons while he enjoyed his emperorship, but I'm reminded of what Virginia said earlier, that although they might stab each other in the back, they're still siblings. Didn't you once say that you don't care about the parents? Wouldn't it be part of your plan to let them abandon the Empire? Cassius sighs deeply.
I've said many things, but I found that once you become emperor, your perspective on things change.
Like, how much you need the parents? Cassius glares at me, and so I just go on. How would they find out anyway? Amicus said something about monitors. Obviously, we can just talk about it out in the open without anything happening. I look around as if expecting a monitor to poke its head out from behind one of the pillars.
I don't know. But what I do know is that the fewer who know, the better.
What even is a monitor? Cassius shrugs.
Again, I don't know. None have appeared in living memory, but that does not mean we should not be cautious. The risk is far too great.
I don't really understand this. I feel like if the parents are as powerful and all-knowing as these aliens make them out to be, then they probably already know that I'm here. If you had your memory of when you came back from the dead, which is understandable, you were dead at the time, then you would know the parents already know that you're there. Before I can bring this up to Cassius, though.
So, what are you and where are you from?
I think. He's right that it wouldn't make sense for the wolves to go after Earth. It is technically the last thing the Empire would want, especially with Cassius as Emperor doing his isolationist view, considering his isolationist views. But most importantly, it could help Amicus. Take a deep breath. And if I tell you, you'll let me see Amicus?
Yes.
I don't like only being able to go on his word, but for some reason I feel like he's being sincere. Because nationalists, they lie, they use emotions instead of facts. I'm a human, from the planet Earth. Human. Earth. Cassius mumbles the words, the lingua cutting off and allowing me to hear the wolf's accented voice unfiltered. He pulls the floating drone at his side towards himself, tapping at the screen a few times, probably making notes. Feels incredibly wrong at that moment, like I betrayed all humans somehow, but again, I can't see why it would put all Earth in danger. On top of that, I'm also counting on Amicus becoming Emperor eventually. And I know he'd never do anything to my planet. I'm playing the game. Cassius stares at the screen a while, and I shift around on my feet. So, can I go see him now? He snaps his gaze up to mine.
Yes, now is best. Kato should not be back for a few more hours, but I can only give you 20 minutes, just to be safe.
Kato? What about him?
What do you mean, what about him?
I want to ask Cassius why it sounds like Kato's in charge and not he himself, but I know not to press those buttons right now. Never mind. So, can I see him regularly? Cassius sighs loudly again, standing up.
If it's not often, and you come to me first, and if Kato's away...
Yep, definitely not fully in charge. Kato's clearly got some control over Cassius. Either way, I'm too happy at the thought of Amicus being able to see Amicus regularly to care at the moment.
Anyway, calm. Escort William to the dungeons to visit Amicus for 20 minutes.
And that's when I remember I have other questions. Wait, do you have contact with the parents now? Cassius looks at me strangely.
Yes, we made contact after I became Emperor. It was expected.
Oh, that's good.
Indeed. Though we had to implement the traditional technique, it's a bit archaic, but highly effective.
Oh, so do you have the stretch drive again? Cassie looks at me suspiciously. Hey, I need to get home eventually, and you'd be getting rid of the problem you have if you got me here. Got me there.
Well, no, not yet. But I've spoken to them a few times. I'll be meditating on that today. I'll keep you updated when we discuss things in the future.
You want to talk to me again?
Yes.
Cassius then stalks off while a drone circles around me, telling me to follow it. I think about apologizing then for the whole Nervo incident, but then I realize if he's not going to mention it, then maybe I shouldn't either. I realized then how strange the whole exchange has been. Cassius had seemed like a whole different person, but I guess now he thinks of me more as an equal, or at least in terms of intelligence. No, he doesn't. Oh, God. Oh, this whole thing gives me fucking bad vibes, dude. It makes him almost tolerable. Alright. That's the end of this long-ass episode of Adastra. On the next one, I guess we're visiting Amicus in the dungeons. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Now, let us do the end slate talking thing that I don't know where the fuck I keep phrasing it like that. Anyway, end slate time. On the left, you got patrons from Patreon. Thank you to all of them for that. There's a link to the Patreon page in the middle, as well as a link to subscribe. On the right, you got the most recent upload from this channel, as well as one recommended just for yo ass from YouTube. All that is in the description. Bye. I'm fucking whatever, man. I'm good.